The name has finally now been released, of course, and everybody knows that the scandal-led BBC presenter is none other than the News at 10 anchor Hugh Edwards. I don't know about you, but I feel incredibly sorry for him because obviously the bottom line is the person himself is obviously going through some very dark and difficult times. A lot of people, though, are suggesting that he's simply playing the mental health card by basically claiming once again that he's had a few issues. Whatever you want to call it, the gentleman in question clearly has been suffering, whichever way you look at it. He's obviously very confused about a certain state where he is in his own personal life. But what's interesting now is, of course, who now takes over that prestigious role. You see, Hugh Edwards over here in the United Kingdom was the man that really fronted everything royal, everything from the Platinum Jubilee to the recent coronation of King Charles III, and was on very good terms with senior members of the British monarchy, rightly so. Let's not forget that you, over here in the United Kingdom, had the, well, shall we say, unenviable task of announcing the passing of our late and beautiful monarch, Queen Elizabeth II. Naturally, they go down in the history books. But the bottom line now for you is this. As I told you in a recent video, many people are circling trying to get that prestigious job. And it certainly is one that anybody who is working in the media broadcasting would like to take, particularly being associated with the BBC, and more so given the fact that they have absolutely full reign to broadcast most of the most prestigious royal occasions ever. But what's interesting also now is simply this. According to a very good source, it did look like Mr. Edwards could have been in line for a knighthood for his services to broadcasting, no doubt including all of those wonderful and prestigious events. Now, as ever, we have to say allegedly. What I can tell you so far is this. According to that good source, His Majesty the King is very dismayed, shall we say, and very upset regarding that particular news and Mr. Edwards. This is what we've learned so far. As I've told you before, His Majesty the King is a caring, compassionate person. And whatever people say, particularly Harry and Meghan, about the British media, King Charles himself, along with our Queen Camilla, have simply been through the ringer with the media. But they know how vital it is for, how shall we say, their ongoing brand. I hate that expression, but it's true. And what's interesting also is that the King naturally developed an affinity with Mr. Edwards, having covered so many wonderful events over the last few years. In fact, according to a very good source, he had a very close friendship with the late Duke of Edinburgh. They got on that well. Moving forward, where does this leave that particular honour? All I can tell you is that that was being talked about inside palace walls. And naturally, it would have made, well, the next sensible move. After all, who has actually done so many of those wonderful events? Moving forward, of course, there is also the Remembrance Service, which is held each year live from the Royal Albert Hall. Another thing that you actually takes on. And more importantly, another prestigious event. So far, there is no word as to whether he will be replaced on that. But as I told you previously, my view is, well, really this. It will be untenable for Mr. Edwards to return back to the BBC, certainly in that particular position, and one might suspect that he may take now early retirement. Whatever your thoughts on this developing story, just remember it's a person at heart, and more importantly, not necessarily the way that he wished his once prestigious career to end. Neil Sean, Lambeth Palace, London.